Good day, everybody. It is nice and early today. Beautiful right now. It's cool. There's some rain I can see coming from the distance and all of that. So it's nice out here. But listen, I wanted to do this video. Actually, it's a video I actually already did, but I'm just sharing with you. There's this guy on TikTok. His name is Issa, and I have been following him for some time because he's been like on his campaign. And if you go back, you'll see I actually did a video about him because he had been on this campaign, you know, regarding blood diamonds in Africa and all of that. And I thought he was doing an excellent job with it. So I actually posted his video right here on our platform, about, was it a week ago? A little bit over a week. Well, you know, so he's been really engrossed in that. But then sometimes he'll go off into other topics, which is cool, fine, or whatever. And the topic that he decided to kind of go off was on is regarding black men. And he gave this scenario. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and play his video in its entirety so that you can hear it for yourself, okay? Because I don't want you to hear my interpretation of what he said. Let's go straight to the horse's mouth. I want you to hear it, and then after that, what's immediately going to follow, well, I'll probably dip in for a second, and then you'll hear me, you'll see my response that I gave to him, okay?
So this is a question I have asked on my live multiple times, and I thought it's time I bring it to video to reach a wider audience, because this is a question I have for a lot of black men and African men, and I think it's time we start to answer these questions. And before all you red pill bros come at me, don't. I'm just not the type of person to dwell on the perceived flaws of our women without focusing on ours. I pay attention to both sides. And if you know me, I'm not a panderer. I'm definitely not someone to pander to or try to defend people who are abort black boys, calling me a bullet. No, if you know me, know who I am, the kind of family I come from, the kind of culture I come from, tremendous self-respect. I'm not one to defend people who have known for hating me. This is not about black women. This is about black men. But I need you to answer this question. Are you ready? Now here goes. I want you to picture a scenario, right? Picture a scenario where a bunch of women are all hanging out. There's a white woman, regular white woman. There's a Jewish woman. There's an Arab woman. There's a Chinese woman. There's an Indian woman. There's a Mexican woman, a Filipina, a black American, and an African woman. So that makes 9 women hanging around, just hanging around, chilling, just drinking, enjoying the day. And then out of nowhere, conversation starts getting a little spicy. The spice levels starts going up. And then out of nowhere, the white woman just gets up and is like, you know what? You're not going to do this with me. I'm white. Our men control governments. You're not going to play with me. Everyone's like, what? The Chinese woman gets up and is like, first of all, I'm a Chinese woman. Our men run construction. No, sorry. Our men run manufacturing. If you want to build anything in this world, you need a Chinese man. So watch what you say to me. Everyone's like, okay. And then the Indian girl gets up and is like, first of all, I'm Indian. Our men run tech. If you want tech, and if you want anything to work on your phone, you want your laptop, anything to run, you need Indian men. Don't mess with me. Everyone's like, okay. The Mexican woman gets up. She's like, Los Tigres del Norte. Don't fuck with me. If you need a roof over your head, our men run construction. Don't play with me. Mexican men run construction. You play with me, I'm a holla at Jose, and it's over for you. Everyone's like, okay. The Jewish woman's like, I know you all don't keep your money under your bed, so as long as you got in the bank, watch what you say. Everyone's like, ooh, okay. The Arab woman's like, well, I'm sure you all need gas. Arab men, we control oil. That's us. Don't play with us. Everyone's like, okay, Arab girl. The Filipina is like, okay, I see what you're doing. Well, me and my girls, we have totally taken over the nursing industry. And have you noticed something? Our men are slowly taking over. In 10 years, none of you bitches can get a vaccine without a Filipino man. And we will all be housewives. So, checkmate. Everyone's like, oh, okay. So, black men, in this scenario, What have we given black women and African women to brag about or clap back about? Like, what have we given our women to brag about? What aspect of this world, what industry, what important part of infrastructure in this world do black men control? African men, the entire continent of Africa that belongs to us, what part of it do we control? That's my question. What do we control? And also, before you guys come at me, I know you red pill niggas again. Y'all gonna come at me on some, oh, we out earn Latino men, blah, blah, blah. Fine. Do you remember Ron DeSantis a couple years ago, was it 2 years ago, talking all of that shit about Latino men? Did you see what happened? I could just picture the scenario. Hector gets his phone, picks up the phone, calls the Jose, is like, yo, Jose, hey, fool, you want to go somewhere? You want to go on a vacation or something? It's like, for vacation? You crazy fool? I got work to... I see what yeah, let's go on that vacation. The Mexican community, the Latino community say, you know what? You want to play with us? We're not going to work. It took 3 days. Ron DeSantis came back out and literally apologized. And it's not spoken about. That is what destroyed his entire political, like, that is what destroyed his drive, his up, whatever the hell you want to call it, as a politician. Because he came out hardcore racist and was put in a position where he was forced to apologize to those people. That was it. Ron DeSantis is over. Trump could not pick him. It was over for him. Every group of men in this country, or wherever you want to call it, they have an aspect, an important aspect of society that they control. Black men, what do we control? I'm not talking about our earnings. Yes, when you go look at earnings, black men, we do good. Regardless of what people say about us, the data shows we're doing amazing. But as a collective, what do we control? Music? Nope. Jewish men control that. Unlucky enough for a lot of you, we don't live in a world where you could just go walk up to a woman and take what you want. So the sexual prowess that we're known for, we're only known for it because the people who control it, women, give us access to it. What do we control, black men? I think this is a valid question. And my suggestion, I'm no voice, I'm nothing. My suggestion would be, let's take over the garbage industry. Let's control America's trash. In New York, I don't know about any other way. In New York City, do you know what it costs? At least in my neighborhood, do you know what it will cost to start a recycling business? $25,000, and that's on the higher end. $25,000 to start a recycling business. There's so many brothers in trash. Excuse my choice of words, but there's so many brothers in trash that make good money. Why can't we come together collectively? Why can't we imagine a world where, imagine in America where black men control trash. We control the trash industry in America. Someone comes out and talks shit about black men, and we're like, oh, that's how it's gonna be? Okay. And for 1 week, America's trash is not picked up. What do you think will happen then? I think every single politician will come out, get on his fucking knees and beg us. Because do you understand how quickly a politician will get voted out if their neighborhood starts to stink? But yeah, it's a very important question that we need to ask ourselves as black men. What do we control? And those of you who do things for women, what have we given our women to brag about? What have we given our women to clap back? Y'all could say all this, oh, we out-earn Mexican men, we out-earn them. Okay, we out-earn them, our women out-earn them. The women can clap back and say, if you want a roof over your head, I need you to shut the fuck up. What have we given our women to clap back with? That's a very important question we need to ask ourselves, black men. Thank you.
Okay, so that's his video. That's what he said. And hopefully you didn't just speed all the way through it and skip then, because I really want you to make sure that you heard everything he said. Okay, so now what happened is I responded to him, and, you know, and I did like I I tagged him. I tagged him in it. A stitch. That's what you call it. Because I don't really post too much on TikTok. But I did a stitch and I tagged him on it and really invited him to continue the dialogue. I said, I'll be more than, let's have the dialogue. It's not a debate, but there's a lot of things in it that I think you're missing. But I was very respectful. And I would say within 10 minutes, the video was taken down for community violation. And I sat up there, I was like, well, wait a minute. There was literally nothing in the video I said that was derogatory against him personally or any group of people or anything. And so, come to find out, I figured out that it was him apparently must have reported my video. And to prove that, I actually posted something in his comment section. And I said, hey, I really hope you didn't take my video down. I was really looking forward to a nice discussion with you. And then I checked back today and the comment is gone. So, yeah, he took it down. So, anyway, this was my response to him. And then at the end, we'll close it out, okay? Okay, so I'm going to try to do this again. Issa, I'm really hoping that you didn't remove my video. I was being very respectful. Didn't say anything derogatory about you personally. I just disagree with what you were saying. I posted my response to your video regarding black men, and within probably about 15 minutes or so, it was taken down for some community violation. And I don't think TikTok initiated that, because there was absolutely nothing I said in the video that was derogatory. I didn't even drop any curse words. I didn't say anything. So I'm really hoping you didn't do this. Okay, so I want to go ahead and get right into it. So again, so this scenario that you posted, that you presented to your viewing audience, you had a group of women, Indian, Jewish, Italian, Mexican, what have you, whatever, and each have a reason why they should be very proud of their men. But then you said black women are black women. What do they have that they can say that they're very proud of that their men are doing? What do their men control? That's what you were trying to say. Now, you have to also, one of the things you got to understand is this, is that especially when it's coming from someone who's a first generational, I believe you are African. One thing that people have to understand is that that's a very fluid definition. In other words, sometimes you're black, sometimes you're African. And I'm going to explain that in a little bit, okay? I'm going to explain why that's very important, okay? Again, I'm being very respectful, and I welcome the dialogue. I would love the opportunity we can discuss this openly, because I think it's a very important topic. And so anyway, so you asked, what is it exactly that black men own and control? Well, when we're talking, if you're saying black men, if you're referring to black Americans, well, let's pump the brakes here a little bit, because number one, if you're going to ask a question as far as like, what do we own and control or whatever, I think that question is best asked, or if you want to start that conversation, it needs to be started with, what is it exactly do Africans control? Well, I can give you some examples here of what they do control. Well, you're on your whole continent. A continent with thousands and thousands and thousands of square miles, if not more, of land that a lot of that land is controlled by Africans. And not just the land itself, but also the minerals and the resources that are on that land. And to go even further, when you look at the government, what do you see? You see Africans. So from top to bottom, Africa is in fact controlled by Africans for the most part, minus colonialism. We know colonialism, there are certain things within colonialism. It has, and there are clause in when it comes to influence on government and influence on resources and things like that. We get that. But as far as land is concerned, you guys control that. You own that, and even in the government as well. So you're standing on all kinds of opportunity. And so the question is, what are you doing with it? Because when I look at immigration, for example, immigration into the United States, immigration going even to Mexico or throughout Europe, I'm seeing a lot of people from the continent going there. So the question then is, what exactly is the country of your origin? What exactly can you honestly say you guys are proud of? You understand what I'm saying? So Again, we're being very respectful, but we're being truthful here. Okay. Now let's flip the switch and let's talk about Black Americans. Now, Black Americans, we were thrusted into a situation where we were taken away from our land, we were taken away from our culture and our history and all that other stuff, right? And we're put into an environment, a construct that we do not control. We do not control this. And so anything that we were able to get, we built it based off of the scraps that they allowed us to have. Well, that hasn't really changed at all, really. I mean, people have become more successful at doing that. But at the end of the day, we don't control. We can't look at our government and say, oh, look, we control the government. We can't do that. We can't look at thousands and thousands of acres of land and say we control all of that. Can Black people own land? Yes. Can Black people get into government? Yes. But ultimately, there are great limitations to what we can do. Not like people on the continent of Africa. There are a lot of things that you can do. But why is it not being done? Well, that's a question that someone like you, I think, will be better fit in answering that. But again, I want you to understand, we ourselves were born into a construct with absolutely nothing. You were born, Africans are born into a construct that you control. You control a lot more of what goes on there. But what are you doing with that? Okay, so that's that. Now, getting back to my point, when I was saying that Africans will make it very clear, not all, but many Africans will make a clear distinction between them being Africans and versus Black. And that's why because usually when someone says Black, they're referring to Black American. And this is very, 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 very important. It's very important. And as I was listening, I could hear you going back and forth with that definition. So I was like, okay, are you talking about Black Americans? Or are you talking about Africans? Because you just said that there was an African woman sitting at the table. So I don't know what you're saying here. But this is what I see a lot of coming from people coming from Africa here. And so that's why it's not surprising to me that someone like yourself would start a conversation like this, where you are basically talking about something negative as it pertains to Blacks, particularly Black Americans, and what is perceived that we're not doing. Because what's funny is that I noticed that Africans will claim to be Black when we're dealing with something negative. But if it's something positive, like if it's something like you guys accomplished something, or you got rewarded for something or whatever, now all of a sudden you're Cameroonian. Now all of a sudden you're from Ghana. Now all of a sudden you're from Nigeria. So you see the game that you play. We can't afford to play that game. We're always Black. We're always Black Americans. And that's pretty much what it is. So this is why it's very clear to understand those distinctions there. Now, you mentioned this whole scenario about Black men should come together and own a gasoline station, should control the garbage industry or whatever. And you were saying, what if, Black men all over did a protest and stopped everything or whatever? Well, here's the thing you have to understand. Doing a protest doesn't mean that you control it. Or own it. Okay, it just means that you're simply saying, I'm not going to do any work. That's it. But what you're trying to propose, but you're proposing it through protest, is ownership or control. You can't control that way. So again, let's say we were controlling the garbage industry, where are you going to dump the trash? Where is that trash going to be dumped? You understand what I'm saying? You need land to do that, in great amounts of land, but not just great amounts of land. You also have to, there's local, state, federal things hoops that you got to go through that costs a lot of money, and it requires a great deal of access that we as Black Americans simply do not have, just like that. You understand what I'm saying? In Africa, you got plenty of land and you own the government. You can control that. In fact, you can set the tone and example of what to do with garbage. Okay, so that's something else that you have to keep in mind when it comes to that. It's not as easy as you're painting it to be. There's a lot of hurdles that we have that you on the continent do not. Okay, and then the other thing I would point out too is that I noticed in the comment section of your video, there's a lot of Black women, African women don't know that were applauding you and saying, yep, that's right, you need to tell these men this, that, or whatever. But see, here's the thing. A lot of these black women that you'll find on TikTok, their expectations for black men are extremely high. They want a black man that's making $200,000, $300,000. He drives a certain car, this, that, or whatever. And so in their minds, they determine that as something to brag about, going back to your scenario. But the problem with women like this is that if they can't find a man that fits into that category, then they're the first ones to say, well, I'm divesting. I'm going to go with white men because white men know exactly what they're doing. They control, they are more power, and black men ain't worth whatever. You understand what I'm saying? So that's something that you also got to consider too. It's not as simple as you painted it. So what I hope is in this video that I'm presenting to you and me going through this is that you understand that it's not just a straightforward thing that as if black men or Americans are sitting around not doing anything, because the opposite is true. There are many black men that are successful, that are building businesses, that are building legacy, like myself. I have a couple of businesses, and I'm married to the woman I love for many years, for over 26 years now. And that's what we're doing. And now you got some bad examples out there, but a lot of great examples out there too. So we need to, if we're going to have these conversations, we got to keep it honest and we got to stay on point. So hope to hear from you soon. Take care. Bye. So Issa, and other people that agree with him on this, my issue isn't, we can disagree. We can agree to disagree. That's part of being human. I don't have any issue with that at all. But I think my first thing would be, you can't come with all that fire and thunder in your voice when it comes to black men. But then when a black man steps to you and actually wants to have a conversation with you, now all of a sudden you're blocking and you're hiding and you're avoiding. That really doesn't say a whole lot about you as a person or your message. And so I would start off with that, number one. Number two, I think I said everything what I said as far as the video is concerned in terms of the parts I believe that he really missed. But but what I also noticed too, one of the things I did say in the video, I talked about how you have a number of women, black women, African women, what have you, that are like saying, amen, brother, amen. I mean, just saying all this stuff. But and you have some that are even reposting it like this man is like a prophet of the Most High or something like that. But you have to start looking at the actual women who are reposting this in the beginning. A lot of these women already have a long history of hatred towards black men, and they're always looking for anything negative when it comes to black men. So you got to consider the source too. A lot of times when you hear people amening messages like this, and at the same time wanting to attenuate when real black men speak on these matters, now all of a sudden you don't want to hear it. You understand what I'm saying? So again, we can quibble about little details here and there on different things, but the baseline of his message, although I understand what he was trying to say, there was some very important distinctions that he just glossed over that really train wreck entirely what he's saying. Now, are there black men out here that can do better? Absolutely. And yes, I do completely understand that there are men out there that have issues that need to be addressed. I even did a whole video recently talking about that, but I didn't have to talk down on black men in order to get that message across. But to try to paint black men in general, because there was absolutely nothing in his message that I heard where he gave examples of black men who are doing positive things. It was all negative. And so when you don't highlight that, that says that you yourself got an issue, and it's a shame because, some of the things other things he was doing, I was really looking to really promote this guy and all of that. But when your first pivot is to go after black men. And when I say black men, I'm saying, like I said in the video, I'm speaking of black American men, because that's really what he's talking about. That's your first pivot, is to go after black American men. That says a lot about you, and I don't want to have nothing to do with you. Oh, and I meant to add this, Issa, in one of your other videos, you were complaining about how this thing that you were doing regarding the blood diamonds and protesting the guy, the jeweler in New York City, and you were complaining about how it's only white people that's responding to your call. But when you ask black men aren't doing anything. Well, maybe you know why. Maybe now you understand why black men aren't responding, because when you're shutting down the voices of other black men who you're talking down on, don't be surprised when black men don't stand up to try to help you out on anything. I mean, it's kind of like like the saying goes, what goes around comes around. I mean, that's kind of how that works, So my advice to you is to make sure you take some great thought in whatever you're about to post as it pertains to black men or black American men or black American women for that matter. Everybody has an opinion, and that's fine, but don't run away when someone challenges you on those opinions, because that says a lot about you as an individual.